Today we are at Setcom Hotel and Suites here in Garumpa, Abuja, venue of a workshop being organized by the National Population Commission to review our manual of instructions for the next population and housing census. As part of our efforts to ensure that Nigerians are well educated, enlightened on all processes of the census, I spoke with the UNFPA Chief Technical Adviser, Dr. Collins Opiyo, to throw light on the census process and also other issues concerning census that I know you would love to hear. Do well to subscribe to this channel by clicking the like button and also press the bell to follow us as we continue to inform you on latest news and updates.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
My brother.
Yeah. Hi, how are you? Good to see you again.
Yeah.
Working hard as usual.
Thank you.
For the good of Nigeria.
Yeah. You know, your own work inspires me to do my own work.
Thank you.
So I thought we were going to sit somewhere and have an elaborate interview.
Yeah.
But look at this particular project here. We're having the review and to finalize the manual for the next census.
Yes.
And I thought since we are here now,
yes,
you could tell us what the unique features, that are going to be seen in this census against what we had in previous years. What are the unique features of this census that is?
Yeah. So thank you very, very much. Okay. It's a very elaborate, it's a very broad question. It's a good question. It's broad. But let me see the best way I can summarize this for you and for the listeners and the viewers out there. So one, as I have said before, two things. One is a credible census process is possible in Nigeria. Okay? For people who have been around census implementation in Nigeria, they probably understand what I mean by that, because there have been challenges with the previous censuses of Nigeria. And because of that, which brings me to the second point. We are using this census to rewrite the history of census taking in Nigeria. Hereafter, census taking in Nigeria is not going to be the same again. It is going to be referenced on what we are doing in this census, and what we are doing in this census is a lot. It's so much. There's so much we are doing here that has never been done here before, that other countries have not even done. So this is a very, very different census for Nigeria compared to what has been done before, and for Africa, for that matter. Now, let me come down to address your specific question, which is, what does this census have which is different? So first of all, let me explain what we are doing here. What we are doing here is that we are in a workshop with very distinguished people, professionals from National Population Commission and from academia, and some of them are retired but very professional, and experienced staff of NPC that have participated in the other censuses in NPC. I'm sure you know that NPC has a 100-year-old history in census taking, which not many countries in Africa or the world really know. So we are having all those professionals, those experts here to help us to prepare the manual of instructions that our field functionaries are going to use in this particular census. This census strictly follows the United Nations principles and recommendations for census taking, which encourages us to use technology to improve the quality of data collected and also the timeliness of the results. And so in this census, we have used technology extensively. We have a lot of technological and methodological innovations, and we have used that to transform various processes, various procedures, and various things that we are doing in the field to limit human interactions, so that a lot of the things that in the previous censuses were done manually are now automated. So what we are doing here is to make sure that we write a manual that will help the numerators the supervisors, the field coordinators, and all other field functionaries to be able to execute the census the way it is desired. So they are making sure that there is every instruction for every activity that will happen in the field, whether it is fetching of maps, which is also automated, whether it is enumeration of persons, which is also going to happen on a PD or a tablet, or whether it is transferring data that has been collected, which is going to be, also automated. We're using internet to sync the data to our cloud servers, and whether it is a quality assurance, meaning that there's a layer of people who go into the data that has been collected and check it for quality as the enumeration goes on, and if there are any errors or any things that don't look right, then send word back so that adjustments can be made. So this is what we are doing here differently. That has never been done here before, and that was never done in the other censuses, to make sure that we write a manual that will be used to implement the first fully digital census in Nigeria. It is a feat and it is a legacy that we are going to leave here, and we are all doing this collectively for the good of Nigeria.
Now, you talked so much, during the course of our lecture in there, and you have spoken about geotagging. I don't think Nigerians know what geotagging is. Could that be a challenge that will come with this?
No. So let's. They should not let our big words scare them. I think geotagging, geo is just location, is from geography. Okay, just geography, geotagging. So what that means is that we are trying to make sure that every unit that we enumerate in the census.
Is it with geofencing and what about during the last?
Yes, it's georeference. Okay, so what it also means, geotagging and georeference, it means the same thing. It means that information on every unit, and by unit here I mean every building, every household, and every person that is enumerated is going to be linked to a specific geographic address, either their residence or where they are found on the census night. That's what we mean by geotagging. It means that everything about that person is georeferenced, okay? It's referenced to the location where they are found. So it's a strategy to combine population and settlement data that gives it more value, so it's easy to be able to analyze population in the context of the environment where they live, which to a large extent also determine their socioeconomic circumstances.
Does that also mean that during the census, people should not live where they are living or just move about?
We'll allow people to move about wherever they want. But in the census, we have included questionnaires that will help us to determine where people actually live. So we are going to count people according to where we find them on the census night, okay? And that's just to simplify, the technical, concept, which is the census reference date, okay? Because it's supposed to be where people spend the census night, okay? So we are going to count people according to where we find them. But we have questions that will allow us, questions like origin, so we know where people originate. We have questions like birthplace, we know where people are born. We have questions like usual residence, we know where people usually live. So if we find you in a place where you don't usually live, we are also going to ask you your duration of residence there. So when we are doing analysis, we can tabulate people according to where they are found, which is their de facto residence, and we can also tabulate them according to where they usually live, which is their usual residence. We can also tabulate them according to where they were 5 years ago, particularly those who are migrating or moving around, to determine migration patterns, so on and so on. So we can do so much in this census based on the questionnaire on which we are writing the manual of instructions today. And that's why we have selected this intellectual level of people participate in that, to write that book. We are actually writing a census taking book, a book for digital census taking in Nigeria, which is going to form the basis or reference manual for censuses to come, many years to come.
In our country where network is an issue, people are thinking this geofencing, geotagging is going to be possible in urban areas. How do you do that in the very remote area, rural area? Are you going to get there to track them?
Yes.
Or get people to, how do you need to cover all these?
So the geofencing just allows us to link you where we are to a satellite. So our tablets have, GPS, can help us to read global, as a GPS that can help us to read the geocoordinates. Okay. But also, the database that we are going to use, the geographic database, or what we call the geodatabase for the census, is all georeferenced. It's an award-winning database. The way it has been done is so award-winning that even when it is offline, it will get satellite connection. So it means that whenever we turn that, when we fetch the map, whenever we turn that database on, wherever we are, whether we are in the urban area or whether we're in the rural or the middle of the ocean, it will tell us exactly where we are. And once we know that, then we just enumerate people and now link them to that particular location. So we know that we enumerated Mr. Erebi in this particular part of Nigeria. If we happen to get out of Nigeria beyond the borders, and that sometimes can happen in some countries where the enumerators wander off because of our imaginary boundaries, then we can tell that this particular enumeration took place outside of the borders of Nigeria. So we are covered either way, whether we are in the rural, whether
what you said already concerning the manual and what is to come next as far as taking is concerned.
So once we are done with this, next week we are going to start training. And we have 4 levels of training. We have national training, we have zonal training, we have state training, and then we have LGA training. So we have combined the first 2 levels, national and zonal training, and we are going to start training them on Monday. The team that are preparing the manuals here are part of the group of trainers we call master trainers. They are the subject matter experts. They are the experts. They know what needs to be done, what sort of training. They are designing the curriculum, the timetable, the instructions. So we are going to add people to them and they become the master trainer. And they are going to be responsible for controlling the quality of training, whether it is at national level, whether it is at zonal level, state level, or MGA level. So on Monday, we are going to start training them online. We're going to start training zonal trainers and national trainers online. We are going to set up a Google Classroom where they are going to be assigned each classroom. We are going to assign a maximum of 50 people per class, and they are going to be trained by this team and other people who are not here but that are already familiar with the subject matter, whom we are also going to give orientation on Monday. So in earnest, the next level is now training, which is going to take us all the way to February when we start the listing. And thereafter, we do the enumeration. And then we close the chapter on Nigeria census. And what we follow after that is just data analysis and data release and dissemination so that we tell people this is the status or the state of Nigerian population as was given to us by Nigerians themselves.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for what you're doing to make sure that you interface effectively between us and the public and the other stakeholders so that we keep them abreast of everything that we are doing. We want to carry them along and make sure that by the time we come to the census, they know exactly what we expect of them, and we do as required to make sure that the census succeeds. If the census of Nigeria succeeds, it's good for everyone. If it doesn't, it's bad for everyone, and we don't want that. So we know we will succeed, and we want them to be part of that success. Thank you.